Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 216 of Rush Roundtable. Today we are talking the what is it? The sixth track from Test for Echo. This is Totem. Um, Check out our new branding. We're moving from Hold Your Fire to Presto in terms of our branding. Moving forward with all the albums over the course of however many episodes. Thought that I would point that out. Um, let's briefly introduce our panel here. We have in the top left corner the rock philosopher, David Utzler, your host, myself, Ryan Murphy. In the bottom left corner, Kira McManus. And in the bottom right corner, we have Patrick Mest. Great panel here to talk about Totem. If you enjoy our content, please check out both our merch shop and our Ko-fi. You can buy us a drink, buy us a coffee, leave a tip, or use that money and put it right back into our channel. So, and check out any of our sponsors via the links in the description. There's a couple discount codes and whatnot for some of the folks that sponsor our channel. My notes say carry on with the episode, so let's carry on with the episode. So let's just jump right into it. Totem, the opening instrumentation. How do we think this, sets the tone for this song, and what are our thoughts about it? Anyone?
Kind of
I love
folksy, simple.
Folksy? Go ahead, Kira.
No, it's the music in this one is kind of simplistic. Like nothing really stands out to me. It's just kind of folksy, low key. I enjoy it. This is just
Yeah.
kind of a thought-provoking song, so I think having subdued music fits with the lyrics. That's all I had to say. Go, Patrick.
Sorry, I was just saying it's kind of like a shimmery bounce to it that I really like. That
Good way to
is
put
kind
it.
of unrush like in some ways, and it kind of lures you in. I had a hard time with Test the album itself when I first listened to it. It kind of dragged for me. It really took me 3 or 4 listens to really get into this album. And Totem was one of those songs that really helped kind of get me through early because it was a song that I really kind of latched onto that I liked as I started to appreciate the other songs. It's very catchy. It's very fun.
Yeah, catchy. Catchy is the word that comes to mind for me. With the opening instrumentation, it is kind of bouncy. It is kind of different, but it's catchy is it's a it. I think this song is perfect where it's placed on the album because you've got a few kind of half the world, the color of right, time and motion. We talked about those the last couple of weeks in front of it. Then we'll talk about dog years next, but um, it fits perfectly right where it is, and I think the opening instrumentation fits perfectly with this song. And it's kind of quick too. It's a there are some Rush songs that drag out their intros right for a while, and to me, like the lyrics come in fairly quickly. But David, you had something to say about it?
Yeah, well, bouncy was the word I was going to use as well. And it just kind of makes you feel happy kind of coming into it.
Yeah,
And it does
yeah,
fit as well. I think once you get into Dog Years and Virtuality, two songs that a lot of Rush fans don't like or don't get, they think they're cheesy or whatever. But they have that same kind of, I don't want to use the word cheesy, that's not the right word at all, but just that same kind of peppy silliness
yeah,
going on.
yeah, yeah. No, 100% agree. All right, so what I'm calling here, verse one. Let's get into the lyrics, shall we? I've got 12 disciples and a Buddha smile, Garden of Allah, Viking Valhalla, a miracle once in a while. I've got a pantheon of animals and a pagan soul, Vishnu and Gaia, Aztec and Maya, dancing around my totem pole. I've been waiting months to just read these lyrics, by the way, because I love singing along to this song. I love some of it's I don't know if tongue twister is the right word, but it's a mouthful. A lot of these lyrics, and they almost have to be sung. Like I can't really read them without sort of trying to sing them or sing them in my head, right?
Give us a
So
little snippet, Ryan.
I've got 12 disciples and a Buddha smile. All right, what do we think
That's
about the
good.
opening verse? No, that was terrible.
It's very catchy. It is. It's a catchy song. I find myself singing little bits of it in my head. It gets stuck in my head. I
Yeah.
I, I hum along to it. It's just And I just like that this little intro part, verse one, we're calling it, kind of sets the table for the song. And it kind of Neil is touching on a lot of different, kind of religious, spiritual um, myths, um,
Yep.
historical references, and he's kind of playing with them back and forth. And it feels like he's a man who's just really aware of all of the different influences around him. He's not sold on one thing in particular. He's looking for the good in all of these different religions around the world. And not that, and he's still got a bit of a cynicism towards them at times, but he's open to them, and he's looking for the good. It feels like.
Yep, it's a really good point.
I was going to say what you said, Patrick, but you already said it. Uh, but
Sorry.
I get that feel too. He's touching on, I mean, obviously you got Christianity with 12 disciples, the Buddha smile, Garden of Allah, a pantheon of animals, which I think is kind of interesting juxtaposition because, the pantheon, all the gods, but animals
Yeah.
and a pagan still, Vishnu and Gaia. And even though, Neil himself wasn't a believer in any personal God or whatever, he was willing to draw truth from wherever he could find it and see how it all interconnected. And that's once we go into the chorus, I don't want to get ahead there, but all of these different influences, but then he says pretty much what his faith is.
I'm happy you just used that word because I was just about to say this song is faithless before faithless.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, and this does it a little bit more specifically with different religions and such. And I have a quote from Neil. This is via 2112.net, but it's from in October 16th, 1996 from Jam Showbiz. And Neil says, I've always been curious about all religions, and the totem idea came from um, Freud. How do you pronounce that guy's name?
Freud.
Freud, yes. Freud book, Totem and Taboo, which I ran across at the Chalet studio where we were working, just in the bookshelf in the living room. I had been kind of rediscovering Freud by the way of Jung and getting to understand the really deep stuff he was dealing with as opposed to some of the pop psychology that we were fed growing up. And I thought Totem and Taboo was such a beautiful title because it's what we fear and what we worship. Again, with the word fear, by the way. Um, Totem being what we worship and taboo being what we fear. What a beautiful embracing metaphor. At one time, the song Resist was called Taboo because I wanted to have the two little set pieces of what we fear. And in Totem, I was just trying to approach all religions because that's what I found looking around at different religions and different systems is that they all have something good, which Patrick touched on. So I thought, why not have them all? The Buddha smile is a nice thing, and I'd like to have 12 apostles. It's all great. It was really just a kind of tongue in cheek and all good things of different religions. So I think it's a lot of Neil, and we also have to take into account the theme of this album. Paul Simon talks about it when he has been on some of these episodes so far, is the, I guess, kind of the overarching theme of this album is communication. And people do that through religion, and people do it through primarily the good in religion, right? So lots of things to think about here as we dive into it. So the pre-chorus.
I have one more thing to say.
Yeah, go.
Okay. You might find interesting about this, and David, since you teach philosophy, you might not agree with this, but I find it interesting that he talks about Buddhism. However, when I took world history in another history class for undergrad, long time ago, my professors argued that Buddhism is really a school of thought, not a religion. I don't know, just a point I like to make.
Well, the reason that they say that is because in Buddhism, there's not a personal God. It's more a life path, a way of life, an ethical code, rather than. So even I think John Paul II once referred to it, I think wrongly, as an atheist religion because they didn't have a personal God in which they believe in. But so I teach philosophy and I agree, not disagree.
Interesting stuff.
But some people classify it as a religion. So I
Mhm.
mean, that kind of goes towards the chorus. I don't want to get too far ahead
And
about how we have just different feelings about things.
yeah, and I don't want to diverge too much off into, the world religions class I'm teaching this semester, but um, uh, I would say it is a religion too, in that, there are practices, rituals, sacred objects, things like that. So yeah, I guess backing up on what you said, I would disagree that it's not a religion. It's not in one sense, but there are different senses of what religion is. So, and then one last thing, at the risk of sounding pedantic, Ryan, it's Jung, not Jung.
No, please correct me because
Freud and Jung.
college is not something I paid attention in. So there you go. Um,
Well, you're most of my
They're gonna come for you
students.
in the comments now, Ryan.
or high school at this point. What's that?
They're gonna come for you in the comments now.
Oh, please do. I mean, anyways, let's continue.
Or they'll come for me saying, "Why do you have to say that and correct Ryan on it?" Sure.
No, you totally should because that's why I asked you how to pronounce Freud, right? Um, that's it, right? Freud.
Freud.
What is it?
Siggy Freud.
No,
Sigmund
my
Freud.
head
No,
is
it's Freud. You're
spinning.
right.
Freud. Okay.
I'm
Um,
sorry. Go on.
my brain is just fried. Um, all right. So, pre-chorus and chorus together. I believe in what I see. I believe in what I hear. I believe that what I'm feeling changes how the world appears. That would be the pre-chorus, and the chorus being angels and demons dancing in my head, lunatics and monsters underneath my bed, media messiahs preying on my fears, pop culture prophets playing in my ears. Thoughts?
These are so
Lunches.
good. They're so catchy. I think this is some of Neil's best work, and I think for a lot of people who don't give an album like Test for Echo the time of day, this a Totem's easily a song that gets lost, and they're just missing out. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like in the pre-chorus, Neil is just kind of laying out just his openness to learning about all different types of things around him in the world. He wants to see, he wants to hear, he's feeling. He's just a very um, he's a very open person. I feel like when I listen to his music and his lyrics and his writing.
It kind
Um,
of harpens back to Scars a little bit, that specific pre-chorus, does it not? I mean, atmospheric
Okay. Yeah.
changes, like, you know what I mean? And that's kind of, now it's on a different topic, but it's also it having to do with emotions and learning and different situations and um he revisits topics in his lyrics as
Mhm.
and revisits them and redefines them and you know
Goes
regurgitates them
deeper.
in different ways, right? So yeah. um I like the last line, pop culture prophets playing in my ears. Media messiahs preying on my fears, pop culture prophets playing in my ears. It's kind of like, and to me, it's okay. Media messiahs preying on my fears. I mean, you get that nowadays, right? You get the media fear mongering with various, whatevers nowadays. But then you have the pop culture prophets playing in your ears. That's quite literally Rush to all of us, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's and playing in my ears. I mean, that's tuning out all the. That's basically putting on the music and tuning out the news. Is
Tuning out some communication.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. But music communicates with people in different ways as well, though.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And he
You're,
might say that, the pop culture prophets aren't communication as much as manipulation. And that's why he wants to tune them out. And I think the opening lines and the first couple lines here, the pre-chorus, are interesting because, the opening verses, you have all these religious references, but then he turns to kind of his senses, you know, um, kind of an empiricist here. I believe what I see, believe what I hear. Those are the things that I believe, right? And then it's always interesting too, the line, I believe in what I'm feeling changes how the world appears, because we've all had this experience, right? If somebody's watching this episode and they're really enjoying it, it's over before they know it. They experience time differently, where somebody else that thinks we're just boring and it drags on, the same 30, 40 minutes is experienced differently depending on how they feel about it, and our moods, attitudes affect the way we understand and interpret so many things. And he brings that out. And one line that I love too: lunatics and monsters underneath my bed, because that's irrational fear, right? When we were kids, our parents, there's not a monster under your bed like that. So it almost speaks to the same theme as the enemy within, fears that, imagination spins.
Yeah.
And then our fears get played on by the media messiahs. So yeah, it's Neil brilliance. That's all you can say about it. It's
And I think,
underrated lyric.
I mean, the pre-chorus, I believe in what I see, hear, what I'm feeling changes how the world appears. Um, Two things. One, as Donna always says, he repeats words and phrases that either mean a lot to him or are important to the lyrics and important to what he's trying to convey. And the repeated word here, repeated word slash phrase here 3 times is "I believe," 3 times in a row, to start those sentences. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I think that pre-chorus and those lines is how we should be looking at worldviews today and world politics, and being open to the other side. And now this is not a political stance or anything like that, but in terms of, as the four of us being in the U.S., whatever, as we get towards the U.S. elections, be open-minded, I think is, you know, changes how the world appears. Have a conversation with the other side. Have a conversation with those that think differently than you. In this case, it's about religion, but in terms of not only politics, but I mean, Patrick and I
Yeah.
we're football fans, right? Have a conversation with the opposing team, like the opposing team's
I
fan
don't know.
base, and not your
Got to draw
Seahawks
the line
fans.
somewhere.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like have
For
a
sure.
conversation, have a
For sure.
respectful conversation with other people, and see what comes out of it, and see if
Well,
maybe you change your stance on whatever it may be.
Well, Neil showed us this, right? Just in this song about all the different things he was open to. And if the
Yeah,
world is only a mirror of yourself, it's a pretty small world, right? So,
exactly. Hmm.
even if
Yep,
you don't change your stance, you might get your way of looking at things kind of enlarged a little bit.
exactly.
And that's
Expand your
good too.
horizons. Hmm.
Yeah.
Again, goes right back to the theme of communication. Communicate with people and see what happens. Just see what happens. It can't hurt.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I have something I want to say. So the pre-chorus, Ryan said it multiple times. I don't think I need to say it again. I don't want to make this episode about me or my personal beliefs or anything like that. But this line really struck me a couple of years ago and has really stuck with me since, because I grew up in a very religious, I grew up in a very like religious Catholic household, going to church, the sacraments and everything else.
Same.
And I think for Neil to emphasize, I believe in what I see, I believe in what I hear, I believe in what I'm feeling changes how the world appears. I think it's such an important line, because as individuals, we all see the world differently. But in organized religion, like what I grew up in, there's so many fixed rules, traditions, thoughts, and organized religion specifically is so skewed and gives you such a skewed view of the world that once I decided to kind of get out of the Catholic bubble for reasons, I was like a little bit shell-shocked, because I grew up very sheltered, because I was taught to think a certain way and not be open-minded. And I think it's just I don't know. This just really speaks to me, and how confining religion can be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
You have to get out of that bubble. You really do. Actually, my master's degree in studying different like human systems and global health and such really threw me for a new one. I learned a lot of things I was taught in my religion not true. I don't know. I just think it's a really, really important line for everyone to hear. Like, you need to get out of your bubble. Like Ryan said, go talk to someone on the other side. Go talk to someone that has a different opinion.
And if
Yeah.
something is really true, it doesn't have to fear being questioned. Truth that won't allow itself to be questioned, not good.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, kind of
Or
picking back of what you,
alleged
Kira,
truth.
said. I grew up in a very religious household. Went to Catholic school for all through high school, church every Sunday, and I really struggled with the organized aspect of religion, and I think as I got older, I really rejected it and I ran away from it, and I still struggle with it. But I feel like Neil's writings have really kind of helped me kind of process how I feel about religion and spirituality, and in particular that line, "Media messiahs preying on my fears." I feel like that has got to be a reference to in the '90s. There, that was like seemed to me like the rise of like the TV preachers who would do like the dramatic healing stuff on TV and call now, donate your money, donate, like a lot of like yelling and screaming. And it just felt like they're
Yeah.
literally media messiahs preying on people's fears through TV. And I love Neil for the way he writes so smartly about these topics. And then the
The
angels and
90s
demons,
was
it's like,
also the rise of Limbaugh on talk radio,
yep.
also preying on fears.
Bad
These are
Rush.
bad people. Yeah, bad Rush.
Mhm.
Bad Rush.
Uh, any Rush Limbaugh fans out there,
It's a joke. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
allowed to think what you want to think. But yeah, this idea that these bad people are coming to take away all your freedoms and
Right.
destroy your country and things like that. And because we couldn't talk to each other because there wasn't a sense of the other person with whom I disagree is a person of goodwill. And we may disagree, but I'm going to assume that they're not evil just because they disagree with me.
Yep. Yep. All right. Let's move on.
You
Verse
know,
2. I've got celestial mechanics to synchronize my stars, seasonal migrations, daily variations, world of the unlikely and bizarre. I've got idols and icons, unspoken holy vows, thoughts to keep well hidden, sacred and forbidden, free to browse among the holy cows. That's why I believe. Again, a mouthful to read, even more of a mouthful to try to sing, but saying with the first verse, it's like I just want to sing it, and I'm not gonna sing it again for the
Oh,
just to save all
oh
you from
man,
that. But it just the rhyming, the use of big words. I mean, like the vocabulary in this song is quite high end, right? I mean,
shout out to
it's
Geddy Lee for being able to sing this stuff as
that's
always. Like,
true too.
what an
Hmm.
incredible performer, Geddy Lee.
Hmm.
props to
Like
Geddy Lee.
seasonal migrations, daily variations, world of the unlikely and bizarre. I mean, like, you know, does that go back to Fly By Night? You know, change of the seasons enough is a reason to want to get away, right? It's even
I think so.
changing seasons. Um, I didn't have that in my notes, by the way. I just thought of that. That's how my brain works. But like, like seasons will change emotions. Seasons will change beliefs. Seasons might change the way you look at things, right? Um, and daily variations. I mean, your day to day or your views may change day to day. You never know. I mean, that's world of the unlikely and bizarre. I mean, is that going back to prime mover? Anything can happen. That was not in my notes either. But
You're
like,
on fire.
This
I
is how
know,
your
I
brain
know.
works. It's how you're wired.
This is just how I'm wired. Yeah. But no, I mean, it's like we always say, like he always revisits topics, and that's exactly I think what he's doing here. All kind of wound into one or two verses. I mean, that's. Anyways, thoughts.
Yeah, one thing I kind of see in here too, and I don't know. One thing I've said this a lot in episodes I've been on is that I don't presume to be inside Neil's head and
Right.
understand necessarily what he meant, right? Um, Text can have lots of meanings
Yep.
beyond what the
Yep.
writer said, but you kind of have on one hand celestial mechanics to synchronize my stars. I don't know, is that kind of a reference to Newtonian mechanistic physics, maybe, because he was in all that? But then seasonal migrations, if you go back to a lot of early cultures in the development of civilization. They planned things around lunar calendars to track seasonal migration, so they knew when certain animals were going to be around that they could hunt and all of that. So you have kind of the modern and the old world. You never know when you step out the cave what could be unlikely and bizarre, or eat you. And then the verse right after that, I've got idols. Okay, that's in some religions that's a bad thing. We've got icons, where in, say, Catholicism, for example, or Eastern Orthodoxy, those are good things. So he's going back and forth. Unspoken holy vows. You're supposed to speak your vows. That's how you say them. So he's just playing with just a bunch of contradictions, right? Sacred and forbidden, and then free to browse among the holy cows, which is
The double meaning, though, too, right?
yeah.
Like, is it like Hindu or there are some religions that aren't there religions that like have like sacred cows or something like that? But then
Yeah,
it's
it's
also the
it's a
meaning of the
symbol.
holy
Yeah, it's
cow. Like it's a double meaning, right?
right.
Thoughts to keep well hidden. That goes right back to the theme of communication. Perhaps those thoughts shouldn't remain hidden.
Mhm.
Perhaps you should communicate them. Perhaps you should, you know, get out in the world and take your chances. That's just how my
And
brain is wired.
yeah, yeah, and feel
Great.
to browse feels again kind of like this openness of like the holy cows being different religions. Feel to browse. I'm looking around. I'm interested in different thoughts and perspectives from around the
That's a
world
good
on
point. Free to
on
browse. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I back to Neil to me always comes across as a very strong-willed free thinker. He's very open and wants to think about lots of things all over the world. He's
Mhm.
got a hunger for knowledge. It feels like when you read his books
Yep,
and listen to his lyrics.
You just
yep,
said
yep, yep.
something, Patrick, that kind of shed some light, maybe for me on this verse. As far as if he's got unspoken holy vows, or thoughts that he keeps well hidden, they're sacred to him, but maybe forbidden to others. I don't know. That's why he's free to browse, because he's not tied to any one creedal
Yeah.
formulation or the dogmas. So I
Well,
hadn't thought about that until what you said. That's terrific.
all right, let's carry on. I'm not gonna. They go into the pre-chorus and the chorus again twice. I'm not gonna reread that, but that's just there in the song. After the end of the chorus, as I go through that a second time, there's a guitar solo. Um, you might call it an interlude. I call it a guitar solo. I mean, it's not like one of Alex's finest guitar solos. I don't think. I don't think it's some analog kid type solo, but it fits. It fits the song well. It serves its purpose. Um, and kind of at this point in their career, Alex isn't soloing as much. I feel like I mean, go look at Vapor Trails, the next album. I think there's one solo on it, and it's in the remixed version of Ceiling Unlimited. I mean, it could be wrong there. Oh, Earthshine has one, but there's very few, is my point. Um, and it's good stuff. If it's all of Alex's solos, in my opinion, fit songs perfectly, and same with his guitar playing. So just in general. So just that's my thoughts on the solo. Anybody got thoughts on the solo?
I just say I've said it on many episodes I've been on before. I think for someone as talented as Alex, he just has so little ego in that his solos, like you alluded to,
Exactly.
right? They just fit the song perfectly. He's not he could go out there and shred, if he and finger tap if he wanted to, like an '80s song. But it's like no, that doesn't fit this song. So he's gonna come up with something that's really beautiful and interesting and catchy that fits with the song, and that's what he does here. And
Yep.
I love this little part here.
Yeah, I think the idea that it fits the song is just right on target, because one of the things Alex always, and like you said, Patrick, he can shred. I mean, if you watched him play on the Crossroads Jam at the Rock Hall when Rush was inducted, ripped it up, just tore that fretboard up. It was incredible.
Yeah.
He could do all that, but he creates moods with his solos that sort of fit that this solo here is just kind of has this airy, kind of floating, ethereal feel to it that yeah, just absolutely fits. And I've got I call him a friend. He doesn't like Rush. He's a friend, but he's tried to listen to Rush and he says he just can't do it. And I'm like, well, why not? I played some of Alex's more intense solos, and he goes, yeah, but he goes, I like guitar driven rock, and he's Van Halen's his band. He likes to hear Eddie play, which Eddie, terrific. But I said Alex is just doing a different thing, and Rush is, as Getty once said, they're considered themselves the world's smallest symphony orchestra. So it's not guitar driven rock; it's orchestrational driven magic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. Um, kind of repeating in the lyrics here at the end, but um, one line of lyrics that's new is "Saviors and Satans all around me." That hasn't been sung up to this point, and it to me it's again calling back to a song like Double Agent, where you have kind of like this good and evil battle, like the angel on the left shoulder and the devil on the right shoulder, and it's applying that to religion and the world and communication. And there are people out there that are saviors, and there are people that are out there that are Satans, and there are in Christianity, there's God and the devil, and there's good and evil, and it's kind of tying that all together, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
And then
like the juxtaposition of it. I mean, especially because what some people see good as bad, and some people see bad as good. Also angels and demons inside of me. It kind of makes me think maybe this is a stretch, Lock and Key from Hold Your Fire, talking about that instinct. Even if you're like a really good person, like you guys are, even the best people in the world have bad thoughts. Even the best people in the world make really bad mistakes sometimes. And I just kind of like the highlight of that struggle. To be good, because we're all human and we're not perfect. And even if you're like really cognizant, it's impossible to be good all the time and not to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a stretch at all.
I know. I was just about to say, I think that's very applicable. Yeah. All right. So the last part of the song lyrically is "Sweet chariot, swing low, coming for me." And what I found on that is that it's an African American spiritual song. Or "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot" is an African American spiritual song and one of the best known Christian hymns, originating in early oral and musical African American traditions. The date it was composed is unknown, but it sounds like he's pulling from that. Um, Thoughts on the ending lyrics?
I did not know that part, that it was a reference to an old hymn. So that's really kind of reframing how I think about this. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, the old African American spiritual, swing low, sweet chariot coming forward to carry me home. Idea of Jesus returning and calling us home.
Any closing thoughts?
I
have one, but go ahead. Yeah. Say again.
I wonder why he put that line there, right? I mean,
yeah,
I know he had something in mind, but I can't put my finger on what it is.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone in the comments has thoughts, anyone watching has thoughts, please let us know. My closing thoughts on this is just, to me, the song is very indicative of Rush at this time, where Neil was in terms of his journeys, that he's taking at this point in his life, and just always learning. is kind of what I take out of some of the lyrics in this song. He's always learning, and you know, a lot of this song and topics in this song, I feel like he kind of revisits some of them throughout Snakes and Arrows, which is 2 albums away, but and you know, 10 years later, but um, it's good stuff. I think it's definitely. I think this song is definitely an entry point to this album.
Yes.
If you're not a big Test for Echo fan, I definitely think give this song a shot. Because there's a lot of different the songs on Test for Echo they're kind of varied. There's a lot of different sounds and a lot of different um like song styles, I guess, if you will. A very diverse record, in my opinion. Um, and I think this is a really good entry point if you like, you know, an album before like Counterparts, which a lot of people seem to like as Counterparts. So it's definitely heavy to a degree, and definitely lyric wise very intense, very thought provoking. So
Yeah.
all right, with that we can wrap. You know, leave any of your viewers leave your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one of them. And again, just want to point you to our merch shop, support our endeavors, get yourself a Rush Fans t-shirt, some other cool stuff on the merch shop, support us on Ko-fi, and then just check out our sponsors in the description. And as I mentioned early on in this episode, this song flows very well into the next song, Dog Years, the song that a lot of people kind of tend to avoid. We're going to break that down next week.
Good song.
And it is a good
great
song.
It's the
Great.
Time Stands
Have
Still
fun.
or Test for Echo.
Yeah, it is. Go listen to that prior to watching our Dog Years episode next week, and we will see you then. Take care, everybody.